Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for brethren to dwell together in unity. This is the Imperfect Ashlers Masonic Podcast. All the views and opinions stated on this show are strictly those of the host and their guests and do not reflect the opinions of any Masonic Lodge or Grand Lodge. What's up, y'all? We are the Imperfect Ashlers, back for, I believe this is 18 now. I know we had some mishaps with some
I was
other
on
ones.
15, but we'll go with 18.
Yeah, there we go. As always, I'm Brother Zach, joined by Brother Ben, and today we have probably our most special guest we've had so far.
I feel special now.
You are special.
I may get it wrong. Right Worshipful Grand Historian,
Right Worshipful Grand Historian.
Master of Chelsea Lodge, and
That's
Master,
my home lodge, yep.
Second year as Master at Revival Lodge, which is what we're going to kind of focus on today, the Observant Lodge. Well, just to get started, my first question is obviously what got you into Masonry in general?
It's always a great question for a Mason. I've always been interested in Masonry on many levels for a few different reasons. I lived in D.C. for a little while, and I found just the history of, I've always found the history of our country real interesting, but more so while I was in D.C. And even though I thought about it before that, I got real serious about it at that point. But work just really consumed my life, and there was just no time to do anything in the evenings. You spent most of your time either in a vehicle or in an office.
All right.
But that's probably when I really started to look into it seriously. And there's a number of lodges up there, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
And, the career took me down here to Alabama and just bumped into a guy, to be honest with you, at the Deer Expo.
Oh, nice.
It's like 6 years ago, maybe. And turns out he was from Chelsea. It's the Shrine. They sell the tickets for the, what is it? The Sportsman's Giveaway.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which is coming up.
It's coming up, yep. And we just got to talking. He was from Chelsea. They had their Shriner stuff on, and we got to talk about Masonry because of the Shrine. And I just mentioned, I said, I've always been interested in Masonry, and he invited me to the lodge. And that's how I joined. But the interest has always been there. Probably every documentary on Amazon and Netflix that's out there, I've watched a couple times over. And so the interest is always there. But it's all the secrecy that you think is there, because there's not as much as you actually, once you learn about it, there's not as much as it really made out to be. So I was always tepid about all the secrecy. Like, what's this really about? Yeah. You hear the jokes. Are the jokes really real or not? So, just it was a long time interest, and I'd say a large part of it was just a historical aspect about it.
I'm kind of the same way. That's where I came from. It was like I always say the history and the mystery.
I'll give you one other thing though, and this is what kept my interest alive the entire time. Is through my career and through life, I've started to stack up a number of Masons that I knew through my life, and their quality as men, just you never really know how much you can trust somebody, but you always get a gut, here and there.
Yeah.
And it just, each of those men were just always good men that you could trust, loyal kind of folks. And one day it was just kind of like, man, I just started adding them up my head, and that's what kept it alive for me.
Rock
for
solid brothers, solid
exactly.
brothers. Yeah, it's one of the things I love. You mentioned the Shrine. You are a Shriner, obviously, because I see you at the car show. What other appendant bodies are you involved with?
All of them, probably.
all of the
I
above.
jumped right in with both feet.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, as soon as I was raised, I think the first body I joined after that was Scottish Rite. I like the philosophical part of Scottish Rite. I really, really enjoy that aspect of it. I think the Shrine was next, and then the York Rite. Yeah, and then there's been a couple of invitational things that have come my way since then. But I jumped into everything.
Yeah.
That's good.
That's one thing. We don't focus a lot on appendant bodies. We mention them, but we try to, like with anything, we're just trying to put a good positive view on the whole craft, everything. Like I said earlier, from Blue Lodge to Observant to the Grand Lodge to our what do you call it? Our mixing with other Grand Lodges, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Appendant bodies, everything, and that's what this whole show's about. Now, speaking on Observant, what do you differentiates Observant Masonry from just a casual Blue Lodge?
Nothing.
Really?
Yeah, it's the same masonry as
Dressed up masonry.
Yeah, and we can get into the nuances and the details of it. This book right here that you have.
Oh yeah, that's a good
Craft.
one.
Yeah, we've mentioned that before.
I was
actually-
actually there when he came to
That's right. You
Birmingham
were.
Metro
Mhm.
when he came and did the speech and was interested and got the book. And then we both read the book, and it
Mhm.
is a great book. There's some things that I don't necessarily agree with because I'm a York Rite Mason,
Mhm.
and but there's things that I do agree with, especially the importance of keeping the ritual real and historical and accurate. And
That's what. Anytime somebody asks me, because I don't, I've never been observant. I've never been to the lodge, which I hope to eventually sometime soon. But to me, it's more of a perfected craft. You want to be perfect in that with the military turns and things like that, and the floor work. And to me, that's what kind of stands out about observant. It's
now,
more of
what's
a
fun? Can I break in?
yeah. Go
What's
ahead.
funny is about this guy right here. I'm not going to crack a joke or anything, but when you go to lodge, when you go to conference, you meet people along the way, and some of these guys you're like, man, there's something different about this guy, and Eric's one of them.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
the way that he speaks, the way that he enunciates words, the way that he works the lines, everything about him seemed different. And then when I went to the Observant Lodge, I was, oh no, that's what it is. but it's a perfection of making things right.
right.
We talked a little bit earlier about, sometimes, if you're not careful, lodge can just become just a bunch of brothers hanging out.
Mhm.
And it is just a bunch of brothers hanging out, but we still have that ritual. We don't, how am I trying to say, get away from the joking, get away from the, uh, I don't know, really, you know what I'm saying? A
The
lot of
the
times, a lot more,
the
I'm not,
childish stuff.
yeah, a lot of times, people interrupting, people talking during stuff when they shouldn't be. And that's one of the things that when I went to I visited you guys about three
Mhm.
times now, and that's one of the things that I was impressed by was the seriousness of it, and
Mhm.
that's one of the things that I've always got from this guy is how
Mhm.
serious he takes masonry,
Right.
and that's something that we need. That's something we need in our lives.
Yeah, in every lodge,
Hmm.
really. I mean, respect for
Absolutely.
it to me. That's what it's a respect for the ritual. I mean,
Yeah.
we've been around since time immemorial. So to me, that needs to be respected.
Well, I think you're summing it up right there. Is it's respecting the craft.
Mhm.
You know, the kind of the serendipitous part of this. When I lived in D.C., obviously you got the George Washington National Museum there. Um, a lot of Masonic history around him, and of course it's kind of a Masonic headquarters, so to speak, for our country. But I bought this book while I was there, and I read it a little bit, but it really didn't mean a lot to me because I wasn't in Masonry, so it's hard to make sense about
Right.
what Brother Andrew's talking about here in his book. But how the whole thing came about is um, there's a conversation that started at Buck Creek amongst a few brothers about why don't we start an observant lodge because there's already one in Huntsville,
Mm.
Renaissance 933. Great lodge, wonderful brothers up there, real tight group. Um, but they had a conversation and they just said, "Hey, let's just do one ourselves." Um, and I think the first person they reached out to was probably Frank, and Frank got a write up offline
Mm.
and sent it to me and said, "Hey, what do you think about this?" And I was reading it and I was like, "Man, this sounds familiar." And I went and got the book.
Mhm.
Um, and the person that wrote that little 3-page write up was Brother Andrew Hammer.
Right.
And I said, "Oh, I know what this is.
Yeah.
I know what it is now because you have time to experience masonry, and this book became more more of a thing for me. So when Frank sent that to me, I was like, yes, I'm all about this,
Right.
and that's kind of what got the wheels in motion. But you're summing it up. It's just respecting the craft. There's a lot of things that have become tradition,
Mhm.
and you can think of any number of them. Just brothers coming to hang out, whatever kind of meals different lodges are putting together. They're certainly financially strapped and with what they can provide for meals. But if you think traditionally, just the progressive line that just about every lodge has. Um, and I think what Observant Masonry tries to do is step away from the things that have become tradition. And you'll hear the phrase a lot, traditional observant masonry.
Mhm.
But
And
there's a difference between traditional
no,
masonry
no,
and
actually,
observant.
Brother Hammer cautions us from using the word traditional observant masonry because that's what people think you're trying to do is kind of go back to the old ways, which in a way we are. Um, it's more so that we're trying to respect the way that the craft was started, as opposed to just kind of having a guys club, a
Mhm.
Yeah,
couple nights a month.
I've heard a lot of people say that if you want to see what masonry is supposed to be, you go to an observant lodge. I think it goes back, and just from what I've seen, it's more of like that old English style from when it originally came over. It was more of a kind of a dress up night. It's not so much to be the boys' club or fancy stuff, anything like that. It's just like you said, out of respect. It's
Yeah,
it's a
have you
respect thing.
visited?
I haven't, no.
Okay, he can't come. He'll never leave. I'm
I
telling you,
love I love getting dressed up. I
he loves
love
it.
and just the ritual in itself. I love learning the ritual and just the craft in itself. I love the craft, and
I was so
that's
impressed with when I visited that with the ritual, with the sharpness of how everything they did was just so sharp and so precise and sometimes in lodge it's just easy to get complacent and kind of
right.
slouchy
Hmm.
and just going through the motions and everything. And I think for the longevity, masonry's been around for forever basically, and in order for us to keep going into the future, I think there needs to be a return to, and I don't want to say traditional here,
hmm
but a return back,
To our origins.
back to the
Yeah,
origins.
yeah,
I can
That's
agree
what
with that.
originally brought the great numbers of men in, I
Hmm.
believe, to begin with. And I'm hoping that and I'm trying not to get political here with what's going on with the country and everything. We were seeing more and more guys, EAs coming
Hmm.
in and everything. And I'm hoping that this is going to be the course for masonry, that we'll see what to say, a revival or a renaissance of
hmm
things.
Now, and one thing I've noticed too from talking with other brothers through whether it's the podcast or just people that I've met, a lot of states, and you may could elaborate on it a little bit. I know a lot of states actually do dress up for their Blue Lodge, even for a casual lodge, quote
hmm
unquote. And that may just be something that we've lost around here. I know when I went to Scotland, they said the reason they don't meet in the summer is because it's too hot to wear a suit. So
yeah.
it may just be something that us rednecks have done. I don't know, but have you ever noticed that a lot of other jurisdictions tend to dress up more?
Yes, yeah. I visited just non-event centric stuff like a tri-state or something like that.
Mm,
But I have visited just an open lodge in Florida and another one recently in Philadelphia. Both of them they were dressed nice. Um, when you bring up the dress thing, for me, it was part of my expectation, right?
mm,
Just all the pictures that you see
right.
when you look
Yeah.
up a lodge online or something like that, they've always got suits on or
Mm.
even tuxedos. Um, I've since learned that picture is usually taken at installation of officers and everybody's put their one suit on for the year. And I don't, I
Yeah.
don't, I don't mean that to cast shade at
They
anybody,
don't
but
show
that's
you the
just kind of,
picture where they're all in their overalls.
well, it's one of
Yeah.
those things that's become the tradition, right?
Right.
These traditions that have just kind of developed over time that people, um, adhere to now, and no fault against them for doing it, right? It's just what they've been brought into. But I saw those pictures, so I had that expectation. So I show up for lodge. I wasn't in a suit. Um, it was button-up shirt, blazer, and
Mm,
slacks. Um, because I went to a couple meals and I could tell, well, the guys aren't wearing suits.
mm,
But my my perception was that that's what masonry was everywhere.
right. Yeah.
But yeah, in Philadelphia, it was interesting some of the things I learned about the deep historical stuff, what going dark during the summer, what that actually meant.
Mm,
Um, I came across a term. It was we have Chelsea meets on the second and third or second and fourth Thursday. Leeds meets every Tuesday. They had some different terms, and it was um, first Wednesday after the full moon,
Yeah.
or something like that in Philadelphia. And most of them only ever met once a month,
Right.
and it was usually the first week.
Yeah.
So it's hard to time my travel up there to finding a lodge. They're over 300 years old, their Grand Lodge, one of the more historical
That's
Grand Lodges in the
insane. That's
country.
awesome.
They were dressed nice. All the officers were in tuxedos, and then all the members were in, either suits or, blazers and slacks.
Right.
But that's been my experience, right? Is they're usually dressed nice.
Mm. That's always kind of confusing. You say that about the quote unquote scheduling. Uh, I know the same thing with Scotland. They meet. It's those weird, um, like you said, first Monday after the harvest moon or whatever. And that just blows my mind. How do you remember when you've got to go? But that's one thing.
Get a farmer's almanac.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's right.
when I first got in, it was we meet every Thursday. And that was just what I thought everybody was. But that just blows my mind how you can go one meeting and then you retain all this stuff. That just blows my mind.
Well, when I visited the lodge in, I say Philly, it was outside of Philly, but still in Pennsylvania. Um, I learned, what the first full moon thing meant. They would put lights, up in the lodge room so that you could, or not the lodge room, but in the top of the lodge so that you could see that the next Wednesday was going to be their meeting, so on and so forth. But boy, I just went down a road and I had a thought there that just left me.
That happens all the time.
Yeah. So what? Go ahead.
So Observant Lodge is more than dressed up masonry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's more of a focus on philosophy, maybe thinking,
So much philosophy. No, there is education. We have an education section.
Yeah.
Right?
So there's
when you came to see Brother Hammer, that was our education section for that evening. Yep.
Right.
Now, does it normally? I mean, y'all just follow the business like a normal lodge would. Is that part of like work, or you have a separate thing for education, or how do y'all do?
It's
like
in
your
our
practice?
it's in our order of business. We have a section for, everybody's got their bylaws, and we put it in our bylaws that we'll have an educational section. We have an education committee.
I like that. That's something that I would like to see our lodge start doing. And in fact, I've last meeting I talked to our master about trying to get something started, at least something small where maybe we can have somebody come in and just talk, just maybe a historical lecture or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I think we'll probably need to get with y'all about who to call on some of that. But that's something that I'd like to see
there's
doing.
There's a ton of resources out there. I think it's at the Masonic Roundtable.
Mm-hmm.
I know that they have offered up their time, if a lodge has got Wi-Fi,
Mm-hmm.
To do some things remote. There's a lot of resources out there, but even if you just go into Grandview, I don't remember, but there's a publication where all the archives are on Grandview.
Okay.
And those just make great, just little topics to talk about.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be, real deep stuff.
Yeah,
For us, it's not always deep
like
stuff.
the MSA pamphlets they do and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I've actually found a podcast where they just read those off, and I like listening to some of those. They're pretty neat.
Mhm.
But I want us to get more involved with what masonry is. I mean, it's not just come in and read the business and go home. That's what we're trying to move away from as a
Right.
lodge, and I think we're doing pretty good so far with
We
it.
have.
But I'd like to see our guys have a little more respect for it, and that's
Not saying that they don't have respect
yeah.
for it, but there's a seriousness that I've seen at your lodge. Like at the beginning of lodge, everybody seems to be like in a contemplative mode,
Mhm.
and nobody's just all over the lodge and zigzagging back and forth. Everybody's just kind of sitting there contemplating, I guess, maybe the meeting or whatever that's coming
Well,
up.
that's
I'm not
deliberate.
sure.
That's deliberate.
And then you know when lodge starts, there's not a lot of motion and everybody's shuffling trying to get where they're going. Everybody's placed and it's ready. We're ready to roll.
Yeah. So before we kind of tile the meeting, we have our chamber of reflection,
Mhm.
and it's not necessarily a requirement of observant masonry, but it's part of the historical aspect of it. And so no phones, right? Leave your phones outside or just leave it in your pocket and keep it off. But 15 minutes before Lodge kicks off, we have our chamber of reflection, which we set up, a little table with some stuff on the table. And it's meant really just to step into the room for just a moment or two and kind of shed the thoughts of the day, shed the stresses of the day, whatever's been on your mind that's, you know, stressing you out or making your day difficult. It's a moment to just go in there,
Deflate.
take a breath, drop it at the door, and then go into Lodge.
I got you.
Yeah.
But what actually started with your observant path? I guess you'd say. What made you want to get into that, other than just hearing and people talk about it, and then just, I mean, what kind of went through your mind that said, "That's what I want to do"?
It's probably tough to say it without sounding like I was dissatisfied with what I was getting out of Masonry.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't dissatisfied. The best of best friends I have, brothers in my home lodge.
All right.
And now I'm developing some of those best of best friends in revival. But the idea of just kind of coming in and doing the business aspect of it, arguing over what we're going to spend money on, or what we want to buy or raise money for, so on and so forth, and that kind of being it.
Mm-hmm.
And then you close Lodge, and then you hang out, and then you have the fellowship part of it. Wasn't that I disliked it. I just thought, I don't know that this is what I thought this was really about.
So the education and
Yeah.
perfecting the work kind of thing.
But knowing, well, the ritual is a different piece of it for me personally. Ritual is important in observant Masonry. But I'm a ritualist. I love the ritual.
That's me too.
And I took the time to learn it and stand for my Grand Lodge examination. So that's a personal thing for me and several folks in revival. But it's not all about what it is.
All right.
But to go back to the other point, knowing it existed was kind of one thing, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was hoping for a little bit more out of this, not quite getting it. Got great friends. This is wonderful. I still love it. But knowing it existed, never visited Renaissance until we were talking about starting a lodge here in Birmingham.
All right.
And so a handful of us went up, and we're just blown away by the experience. You kind of flip things, right? The meal is after Lodge. And there's plenty of joking, plenty of cutting up, plenty of one-liners going across the room that get everybody laughing. So there's plenty of fun to it. But the whole experience of just seeing everybody in tuxedos, seeing the reverence for the craft, was just a tremendous amount of fuel to say, yeah, that's what I thought it was. That's exactly what I thought Masonry was.
Agreed. Yeah. I would agree on that, and I've been wanting to petition, but Wednesday night is a church night for me, and I've already carved one off for the School of Instruction, and I don't know if they'll let me out of the kitchen to carve another. But I'm not saying anything negative about Blue Lodge or anything like that. But after attending revival, and then when you go back to Lodge, and and you're sitting there, and Lodge is about to start, and people are interrupting, and people are talking over, and a degree's going on, and people are whispering, and you can hear it, and all that stuff just it wells up in you, and I'm not saying I'm perfect or anything like that. I've been guilty, just as guilty as anybody else, but I think that there needs to be a reverence for the craft. I'm not saying that we're losing it, but for the young guys coming in, for the future generations and everything, I think that the forefathers, when they laid the plans down for all of this, they were very wise in what they were doing, and that's one of the attractions for me. One of the attractions for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
For in Masonry is there is a bit of solemnity about it. There is a little bit of prudence in it. There is there's all these things, and we don't want to lose that as a fraternity, as an organization.
I agree.
Well, as a lodge, that's what we want to see happen. We want to see people come visit with us And sure, we'd love to have the members, and we'd love folks to petition and be a part of it. But if they can't, that's okay too. What we'd love to see for the folks that want to be a part of it but can't, for whatever reason it is, take something back to your lodge.
Right.
We don't expect it. We or Brother Hammer, nobody's expecting every lodge in the country to be an observant lodge.
Yeah, and one of the things in his book that broke my heart was and I think me and Zach, we both talked about this. You cannot be observant on your own in a lodge,
Yeah,
And
true.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh man, I was going to take
Yeah.
it back to Ben
That's-
Jacobs and Coosa Valley.
I've said it before. One of the things that I can't remember if it was in that book or if it was something else I saw, but be the change you want to see. And that's when I started dressing up, at least nice, button down, whatever. And, Ben would follow along. He would do it.
Well,
We had
a lot of
couple
times
others
we'll
that
call, what are you wearing tonight?
Yeah.
What you get?
let's
What you
throw
wearing?
on a suit. Just,
Yeah.
let's throw on a suit.
Let's
see
throw
what
on a
happens.
suit and
And as
show
soon as
up.
you walk in, it's
What do
whose
you guys-
funeral are
you
you
gonna
going to?
go
You
into a
going to
funeral?
preach?
Yeah.
And that's one thing. I even wear them out in public. I'll wear them to work if I'm going before a degree or something, and they're all the time just ragging me on it. And it's like, when did it become bad to wear a suit?
To
Even
dress up.
Yeah.
When did it
even
become
outside
bad
of
to dress up?
masonry, I've been a business professional now for some time, and I would say COVID really killed it. People don't wear suits anymore.
Mhm.
It's even CEOs.
Or they dress
might
them
wear-
down. They'll throw some tennis shoes on with it or something.
Yeah,
like
well,
that,
they'll wear a navy blue suit and an Oxford blue or a white button up. No tie though.
Mhm.
Like ties
Right.
are gone.
Yeah.
Even
I've
at the
noticed
sea
that.
level.
And even talking masonry, it's hard to find a good Masonic tie to me. I've looked, and I've got a few that I wear that just have the square and compass on them or whatever, but it's hard to find those now. I know Masonic Revival, that's probably the best one that
They have really nice
you
ties.
see.
Yeah.
And that's not a plug for them. They are great products.
Might get a
though, but,
sponsor.
yeah, God, well, that would be nice. But yeah, I mean, there's very few that actually make good quality stuff like
Yeah.
that anymore, and it's sad to see that because I love even just throwing on a suit, and just walking, go out somewhere fancy in Birmingham, just walk
Yeah.
down the street and just
I
see
like
the
where
looks
it's
you
subtle.
get.
It's
Yeah.
just where maybe the embroidery is the same color as the tie. Just kind of I like it to be subtle.
Yeah.
Because when someone notices it, then they notice it. Right?
Yeah.
Then it becomes a conversation point. You get to talk about masonry.
Yeah,
That's
I like that too. And I like I'm a minimalist, I guess you could say. I don't like the fancy, I'm not going, which we do the 3-piece suit stuff every once in a while with a bow tie or whatever, but just a shirt, a nice shirt and a tie and a jacket. I'm good with that. But
Maybe we should show up at Lodge Thursday night with a bow tie
I'm down.
and black
I'm-
suit and a vest on. I think
I love bow
that. Yeah, I
ties.
think
Yeah.
I do too.
I'm
Yeah.
down. Well, going into more appendant stuff, you said you're Scottish Rite Shrine and York Rite. And I know you're busy as all get out right now, being on the Grand Line. How often do you get to participate in all that?
So I don't get to York Rite very much at all. A couple of reasons, right? One is as a district lecturer, I try to make every
No,
conference in
yeah.
Group 3.
Yeah, and those are always on the same
On
day.
Saturday.
with me,
Yeah, and
Saturdays.
I try to jump over here into Group 1 when I can. Did Coosa have a conference this year?
Yeah.
I thought they had one on the calendar. I might have missed that. So there's that. There's some other shrine things that usually happen on Saturdays.
Yeah,
I've not made a lot of shrine stuff this year either. So it's hard to make the York Rite stuff. I make maybe 75% of the Scottish Rite stuff. I could be at a lodge in my district almost every night of Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. Almost every one of those, minus a couple of Mondays.
okay.
So it can be challenging, and then
Yeah.
you've got commitments at home, right?
Yeah, that's
so-
understandable. And like I said, I know, like with being on the Grand Line, I know y'all are traveling a lot. Which shout out to most worshipful Richard Schultz. He's
He has
done
done
a great job.
has,
Those
he
guys
has.
are all over the place.
And
I wish
know-
that I could have gone on some more with them.
Did you go to the Alaska trip with them?
I haven't done anything that required real lengthy travel. I made a couple of job changes and don't have a lot of PTO to be burning.
I think
so-
Jason said they were going back to Alaska in February.
Oh, are they?
I think that's what he told
He
me.
showed up Saturday.
I think he said they might be going back in February or something. I'm not sure.
I remember him
That'd be
saying
fun.
something about it, but I don't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
It was too early still.
That's- Yeah, and I saw you a while back. You had posted something on Facebook. It was a ship's degree or
Yeah, the
some,
battleship degree.
Battleship,
the
yeah.
battleship degree. That looked cool.
Yeah.
That was really awesome. Um, it's one of those things that I knew about. Said, "Oh man, I need to get down there and do that." And you
Where was
just-
this at?
Santa Mobile.
USS
Okay.
Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay.
They do it every year. I can't remember the lodge that does it, but I say every year. It's been for the last several years that I know of. And so being on the Grand Lodge line, I not go out. Yeah, we're going to do it this year for sure. So Stephen Blair, you guys may know Brother Blair. He and I drove down together, got a hotel for that night. Had a great time. Really small, cramped space.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah, I saw pictures. I was like, man, they have a lodge in there. It was
It's
tiny.
not a lodge.
It didn't look like you had any headspace for somebody your
no,
height.
no headspace.
It's like,
That'd
I'd be
pretty
cool
wonky
in there.
lines. Yeah, you might have been good. I
Yeah, I'd have
wasn't
been
so
good,
much.
man. I'd have plenty of headspace,
Yeah.
but I think you'd bump your head, you turn a corner in there.
It's very tight to do a degree, but it was, just different, right? It's just
Mhm.
something different and
Yeah.
getting out there and doing something Masonic. Everybody knew what we were coming for. The guards at the gate. I showed up in my Grand Lodge stuff, and he just pointed.
Have you had any kind of resistance as a Grand Lodge officer going to visit any lodges or anything?
Mm-mm.
Anybody really ever test you or anything?
Now the most you get tested is at a conference.
I guess I could
What
say
about
that.
this?
Yeah. That's something I've always kind of wondered about because you got the big, apron with the fringe and everything, and it'd be kind of hard. Well, it wouldn't be hard; it'd be expensive to try to fake that. I think, but
Yeah, and some of those are really showing their life. I got a new collar for mine, but my jewel is rather worn, and the apron's still in good shape, but it's showing some life to it. But some of the others I've seen, and they're working through trying to replace some of them, and it's a long
Oh,
process,
yeah.
and they are expensive.
yeah,
They're very expensive.
I know just for the plain white ones, it's a good $30 for a crappy one.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it was.
That's-
I'll say one thing that surprised me about it was the apron was way heavier than I thought it was.
yeah.
Mine fortunately has a button loop,
Hmm.
so I can hang it off the button of my suit,
Yeah,
and you need it.
that's not a bad idea. I might do that on.
Got a pocket in
mine.
the back for gloves, or
Yeah.
maybe you stick your phone in there.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things, and he may be able to explain it better, that we've questioned through Brother Hammer's book is how his view on. That's why I was getting into the appendant bodies. His view on the appendant bodies, and
He kind of
I-
kicks the appendant bodies in the
he
ribs.
does. I can agree and disagree.
Especially
at the
the
same
you're right.
time, but yeah, he-
Probably because of the theological aspect of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's kind of what I assumed. And to me, I like the appendant bodies, but masonry is Blue Lodge.
Blue Lodge, that's right.
To me, that's Blue Lodge. Now, I know the Grand Lodge of England says it's the first 3 degrees plus the Royal Arch, and everybody's got their own opinion about
Mhm.
it. But to me, yeah, that's the culmination. But what do you think about that subject? Is it just strictly the 3 degrees, Blue Lodge? Is that kind of you're the same opinion? I
Well,
bet that I am.
You hear this a lot when a brother is raised. Brother Tommy Bassett probably says it the best: is that you will be no more a Mason in anything that you do than you are right now.
Yep.
And I think that really just sums it up. All that stuff is interesting, and they each have their own focuses.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could say it better. You're no more a Mason
Yep.
than that
That-
day you're raised.
That's right.
No matter what
No.
appendant body you're
Yeah,
part of, or
Nothing higher than that 3rd degree.
yeah, and all the invitational stuff too. It's all honorary stuff that means a lot to the folks that have it, and nothing against it. But you're no more a Mason than the day you're raised.
I would say
I
one of
like
the
that.
reasons that, and you may agree or disagree, but one of the reasons I like the appendant bodies so much, and you can share also is I like the charitable side of those.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well,
I think
that's
that
anything masonry is going to have
yeah,
some type of
the
charity
Knights Templar Eye
foundation. So,
Foundation, you know, that's a really good organization, and they're making a lot of really good strides
mhm.
in and doing away with childhood blindness and different diseases and stuff. And now I think with Brother Elsner or Doctor Elsner, they've gone even farther. They're working hand in hand with these doctors
Mhm.
and these researchers at UAB, right?
I
Oh,
think
yeah.
And
so. Yeah.
and that's even going to make it
Yeah.
more. How what's the word I'm trying to say? It's just going to make it a better experience for us as an organization and also a better experience for the researchers. They to better know how to allocate and use the monies
Yeah.
that we raise.
I agree with
I
that.
just
I mean,
that's one of the main reasons that I got into the to the York Rite.
yeah.
And so me and Zach, we both went into the Scottish Rite, but we're both kind of treading water. I told you before we started, I've got my dues over here, and
Hmm.
if I don't pay them, I'm going to go suspended. So I'm going to give you just a minute or two and sell us on the Scottish Rite.
To
Now,
me, it feels like just a little further step into masonry from a philosophical perspective.
Okay.
Um, I think that's about as brief as I could keep it.
yeah.
And
See,
that's kind of what Hammer says on the degrees and everything about the Scottish Rite is they're so beautiful and philosophical. I noticed that, you know, he didn't have a whole lot to say for the Scottish Rite. I mean for the York Rite, but he did say that the Scottish Rite degrees were very philosophical
Yeah.
and esoterical and these things and so
and I
that's a draw for me.
I
And
Yeah.
think
I
a
need
lot
to
of our problem is we didn't actually get to see the degrees,
we
and
did the
that's what
Albert
kind of
Pike
turned me
conferral.
off of it. I didn't like that,
Yeah,
but
that's probably the most disappointing part about the Scottish Rite is just how, you can go basically to a day,
mhm.
and get all the degrees. I don't know that you'd get anybody to stick with it to go through all of them if you did them individually. So I kind of understand,
That's a
the
long
why.
it'd take a
Yeah.
minute, wouldn't
Well,
it?
I heard a story when I went to my Scottish Rite class about a brother that came over to visit from England, and he was doing each of those degrees just like he did his Masonic degrees, and he was only
Wow.
like on the 15th degree at the time.
How about
So he was
that?
doing the same thing that we did for our first three for all of his Scottish Rite degrees.
Mm,
Whoa.
Yeah,
jeez. I guess that would definitely make me interested in it.
yeah.
Get to actually be the candidate in every one of them instead of having this big class and just watching. But
Now they're supposed to be doing all the degrees in Huntsville soon, right? Or did I
it
miss
won't.
that?
I don't think it'll be all of them. It's a reunion,
Or
but I
some
think it's
of
only
them?
Yeah, they
certain
do. They do some
ones.
of them. They talk about others, and there is a lot to them. I mean, there's as much symbolism in those degrees as there are in the first three degrees. So they can be meaningful. They can be really beautiful degrees, just like our first three. But yeah, to kind of get a bunch of folks together and kind of an assembly line, so to speak, to get them through the
Hmm.
degrees in a day or two,
Yeah.
um, kind of diminishes the experience. Um, but I enjoy the Scottish Rite meetings. There's actually an educational section in that, um, and it's like a lodge meeting, obviously. But
If you go to
Mhm.
Scottish Rite meeting, it's basically like you're sitting at a revival, but they don't have the gloves on.
Yeah.
gloves and
I'm
tuxedos.
joking. It's like revival with no gloves.
Yeah.
I'm joking. Oh, oh me. But yeah, we've got me and Zach both, and I'm going to stay on him because he's lost. Both of us kind of lost interest in that, and I want to delve farther into the Scottish Rite, and um, really enjoying the York Rite, and I know that experience is there for me
Mhm.
with Scottish Rite as well.
It is there. For me personally, once I got so many things on my plate in such a short amount of time, um, and I wanted to pursue the ritual, like I kind of made it a point that Blue Lodge was a priority, and as things started to conflict with Blue Lodge, and if I had two or three things on a Saturday, the
Hmm.
Blue Lodge one took precedence.
Right.
Right. So,
That's
and that's
that's
because that's really
understandable.
where our foundation
Wouldn't you
is.
love to
Yeah.
see this guy's calendar?
Oh yes.
X's
Well,
everywhere
and being a
and
district
scratches
lecturer too,
out.
I'm between Grand Lodge, district lecturer, all that. I know you've got a lot of fires or pokers in the
Mm.
fire, like he
Mhm.
as he would say. But that just, I wish I had that kind of time. but I do. I'm would probably be the same way. To me, Blue Lodge is where it's at. That's your masonry. The rest of it, it continues the story and it's fun. I love the Yorkite meetings. It just seems you it you get to meet more people. And at Yorkite, of course, it's a little bit smaller group, so it's a little more intimate. Um, and of course, originally what got me into it was the Knights Templar myths and
Yeah.
all that. So that was one of the things that kind of brought me more on that side. So, but I agree. I think I would probably love the Scottish Rite if I just kind of gave it that chance. But I mean, he knows I've got so many things going on right now with family and all that. It's just hard
Work,
to,
his work, your
yeah.
work always gets him, and it's just it is hard. That's one of the good things about having a business.
Mhm.
If I can always carve a day out or whatever
Mhm.
to do that, but I mean, it becomes, like we were talking about, where can I wish I could come up with another Wednesday,
Right.
because,
Yeah.
Mondays are taken, Thursdays are taken, Wednesdays are taken, Saturdays are filling up, and you say, well, man, that's a lot to do, but it really doesn't seem like I'm that busy with what I said. There's more room for me to do
Mhm.
more. If that makes any sense,
Yeah.
I feel like I need to add something else in there. I'm joining the shrine, and I don't know. You like the shrine?
I enjoy it. It's a lot of fun. Um, the philanthropy aspect of it is amazing. What they're able to do for kids, and um, if they have shrine days at the hospitals. Those are incredible experiences, from what I understand. I've not had the opportunity to partake in one of those yet. Um, but the philanthropy aspect of the shrine is amazing.
Hmm.
Um, Shriners like to have a lot of fun. I think
Mhm.
that everybody knows that. But what they do on the philanthropy side, um, it keeps them visible. Everybody knows what a
Right.
Shriner is.
Yeah.
And not everybody knows that Shriners are Masons.
Mhm.
Just because of what they do in I say the community, right? There's not a Shrine hospital everywhere, but what they do, to be visible in the parades and stuff like that, and all the money that they raise, tremendous amounts of money for the hospitals, and
Right.
And I think Brother Each said that this year, excuse me, this year will pass $1 million for the car show, right?
yeah,
Mhm.
we should surpass a million
That's a lot of money
That's
right
this
yeah.
there.
year. Yeah, last year, well, the year before last was our biggest year. I think it was 50,000. I may be wrong on the number, but I think we gave 50,000 to Greenville, um, 60 this past year, and that put us in the 980 range total. Yeah,
Wow.
so we'll surpass a million this year pretty
Amazing.
Yeah.
easily, we
That's
believe.
awesome.
Yep, yep.
What this is kind of jumping off subject of that for just a minute. We've talked about before kind of the decline in membership. Um, just from where you sit, what do you think? And of course, uh, I think we're under the agreement of we would prefer quality over quantity any day.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
What do you think is causing that, at least in Alabama, compared to what else you've seen versus, and in addition, part two to that question would be, what do you think uh, we could do to, quote unquote, I'm going to use the R word, recruit new people to
Yeah,
come in?
that's a good question. I really wish I had the perfect answer for it, but you know, I think it's a generational thing for one. Now Masonic numbers have been declining for a long time. I think the only positive year that we had after World War II um, was after National Treasure movie. Um,
That
that
was
was
part of me. That was
that
me.
was a positive year, numbers wise, but it's been declining ever since World War II, from what I understand. But clubs in general,
Mm,
fraternities in general,
Fraternities.
all right.
have all been declining. So to me, that's either a societal or a generational thing.
Yeah.
Um, Everybody's got their own perception on how somebody should ask to be a Mason, how much you can talk about it with them to, get them to that
All right.
um, precipice, so to speak. Um, but I think it's got to be being in the community, and just being visible, right? It's not this cloak and dagger thing that
Hmm.
the
Right.
the all the documentaries say, and Of course, all the hoopla on the internet and all
Mm.
that stuff like that, but it's not really any of that. The the piece of it that is secret is so small
Mm.
compared to what you think it really is. Um, but getting past that and just being visible in the communities. As a lodge, go um, volunteer for something, go clean up a park or hand out water at a marathon or something like that. Just little things like that to just be visible.
Yeah.
That's one of the
That's
things we've been trying to do at Ben
yeah.
Jacobs is be seen in the community,
Yeah.
and
We're
have
in the
done a
process
good
of
job of it.
yeah, we're in the process of starting a fishing tournament.
Hmm.
We're
Well,
right here on the
it,
lake.
it it
Why not?
started it started out as a softball tournament, and then we ran
City
into a
government.
lot of hurdles with
Mhm.
the city government, and so we're going to focus now on a fishing tournament.
Yeah. We've talked about golf and stuff like that, but one of our things, and we've talked about it before, we're blessed. We have renters downstairs that
Hmm.
pay us a good amount of money to keep it keeps our lights on, and so our bank account is definitely not very low. But that's been, and when I went into the East last year, this is the first one we've done as past masters. Now that I think about
That's right.
it, um, but when I went into the East, that was my focus. Was I want people to see us, and
Hmm.
Mhm.
we're trying to get into the museum up here and um, just get out. And that's why we started the podcast, just let people know we're still here.
Yeah.
Um, but I'd agree with that. That's I wear my tattoos and everything. I want people to know, and
That's right. Letter
sometimes I have to
says.
look at that and remember, you know what? I don't want people seeing me doing this stupid stuff, and that helps me to
Hmm.
remember.
Hmm.
You need to be a Mason outside of lodge too.
You can't take that off like you can your ring.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
it's on you,
Yeah.
bud.
Yeah. It's like cutting somebody off in traffic with a little square and compass.
Yeah. Yep.
That's right.
Um, have you got anything else right off that you can think of? I was going to
One
give
more
him a
question.
minute.
One more question. Okay, so this is uh, this is just me. So you see all these lodges, not. I mean, some lodges are actually really doing good, but you see these lodges that keep converging, joining. This lodge moving in with this lodge,
Hmm.
moving in. And this whole little area becomes one lodge, which is basically like Coosa Valley Lodge, which is where I'm a member. We were Talladega Springs, Casada, and Sylacauga came together and formed one lodge. But then you don't have the brothers from the other lodges.
Yeah.
You just have the brothers from that Sylacauga lodge. So in the future, and this is just a what if, but is observant masonry the future of masonry?
I know a brother in an observant lodge that says it is, and he believes that all lodges before long will be observant lodges.
That's my thoughts.
Um, that's probably a ways away, um, and I don't really have an argument for why that's not the case. Certainly, the consolidation is a trend right now.
Hmm.
Um, I have 3 lodges in my district that are talking about a consolidation. Um, and you've got all the personal aspects of the members of the different lodges, because you're worried about exactly that. If they pick a certain lodge, are they going to go? We have this high degree of um, convenience for me, I'm just a few minutes from Chelsea Lodge. Um, and if Chelsea merged with South Shelby, let's say, right, that turns into a 30-minute drive for me. Um, you know, Back in the day when brothers were traveling to lodge on horseback, they were
Mhm.
probably taking 30 minutes to get to lodge when
Oh
it was
yeah.
geographically as close as maybe mine is to me. Um, so I don't know that we necessarily need the number of lodges, physical lodges that we have. Um, so I think we could certainly consolidate a great number of our lodges and still be able to participate in masonry just fine. I mean,
Hmm.
we can all travel, distances pretty quickly.
Hmm.
Um, but we've
Well,
we've
we've
gotten comfortable
got
in the
air
conveniences that
conditioning
we
now.
have.
Right.
Oh, there's air conditioning, all that stuff that
Yeah.
kind of built what it was, numbers wise and location wise. Um, but it's the convenience factor now that it was 5 minutes from lodge.
Hmm.
Um, maybe that's a piece of it. I know there's attachment to buildings
Oh yes.
There's even attachment to lodge numbers.
Right.
Lodges with low numbers want to keep the low number because they're only issued in sequence. So even that's a thing. Stairs, you go to a lodge that's got stairs, and you got a bunch of old guys that don't want to climb the stairs. All the different little things that kind of just get in the way of it. But if you consolidate and you get the folks to participate, I think it's a good thing, right? To get 20, 25, 30 people in a lodge meeting.
There's strength in numbers.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that's what's going to happen, but that's just in the back of my mind. And me and Zach talked about it. It's like, is the future of Masonry Observant Lodge? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let me throw this out there. So, Twin City 76 is not an Observant Lodge. You guys know Brother Daniel Robinson?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's I believe he's a member of that lodge. They hold an observant meeting on it's changed. I think the first time they did it was on the 5th day of the week. Whatever meeting they had where there wouldn't have been a meeting, they held a special. Okay. And it was an observant meeting. So the same structure, right? So chamber of reflection, everybody's dressed in their tuxedos, quiet in the lodge room before lodge opens, respect for the craft and the order. Gloves, yes, gloves.
I love the gloves. I love the gloves, man.
Yeah, and then the festive board afterwards. So, a lodge doesn't have to be an observant lodge. You can still do like they do and just have an observant meeting. And however you do it.
That's an idea.
Yeah, so if you've got, you meet on the 2nd, 3rd, but you happen to got that week with a 5th day, make that a special. That's what they were doing. And now they move it around because some of us from Birmingham will come down, and it's a couple hours for us to get back home. So they've moved it to a Friday. I think the last one was a Friday. But anyway, they just kind of pick a day and schedule a special and have at it.
Yeah.
Any lodge can do that.
That's something we're going to start looking at.
I knew the wheels were turning in your mind, like mine too. Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. Now what, and this is just a random question. Why have the festive board at the end of the meeting instead of before? Or do you know if there's an answer to that?
There probably is an answer, and Brother Hammer has the answer, I'm sure. He's probably the godfather of observant masonry in the United States, but I don't know the why. It might be an English thing. I know one of the specials, that I watched on Amazon, Netflix, whatever. I kind of caught that in their meeting is they were following the guy who was he had been elected Tyler, and he was trying to learn his ritual, and they didn't call it a festive board, but I just noticed their meal was after.
Right.
And once we started our lodge, that kind of came to memory. I was like, oh, that was a festive board.
It's probably so,
but it wasn't It wasn't necessarily an observant lodge. It was just a lodge, somewhere in the middle of the country, and
they probably have it at the end though to avoid the food coma. Yeah, and snores. You know, man. You get a bunch of us together and let us get a full belly of food, man. We're gonna be nodding out and snoring.
Yeah, well, and that's why, like I said earlier, I think a lot of people say that observant is kind of the way that masonry's supposed to be, because I think that's, to me, that's doing it right. I mean, for that reason, and just for if you have people that may want to drink some wine or something like that, or some type of alcohol, you don't want that in the lodge. You don't want somebody coming in that have had a couple of drinks. So that may be part of it too. I was just curious. Well, I'm out of questions. Have you got anything else? If not, I was going to let him kind of close this.
I mean, I've got another question or two, but I can keep asking questions. I don't know if he's willing to keep answering.
Well, I brought a couple notes, and let me read off a couple things here.
Yeah, I was going to say, take as much time as you want to.
So, this is I've spoken on observant masonry when I visited some other lodges, just because I was asked to, and so I got a few points, right, that kind of put some structure to what observant masonry is, and there's really kind of seven founding principles to what observant masonry is. First principle is guarding the west gate, right? So we've talked about numbers.
Can I write all these down?
I'll let you have this one.
Oh, okay, there you go. All right, cool.
numbers are a thing. People, you get a petition, and I think a lot of them probably just get voted on because they want a member. That may not be the case, but kind of feels like that at times. But guarding the West Gate
Goes back
right.
to the quality over quantity.
Yeah, you want a quality individual. Second principle is proficiency in the ritual, and obviously Masonic law, right? So we don't want everybody in the lodge to be a district lecturer or hold a Grand Lodge certificate, but if you're going to hold an office, we want you to be proficient in that office to the point of being able to confer the degree from that office, right? So the ritual is important. We have our lines, and folks get lazy with their lines. And I'm an individual that kind of treats life in this manner, that how you do the small things is how you will do everything.
That's right.
And if you're going to get casual with your lines, which is something really simple in our ritual, it's just our lines. Right. But if you get casual with it, how casual are you going to be with the rest of it?
Exactly.
So the proficiency in that is important, but also, how many times do you get asked if anybody's anything prominent in a lodge, they're probably getting asked questions about the code. Hey, what do we do about this? What do we do about this? Right. So again, not necessarily knowing all the code. You don't have to be a lawyer, but being proficient in it is important, right? Knowing kind of the rules, about the fraternity that we have, right? It's all important. Advancement through effort, progressive lines. Folks get comfortable with the progressive line. They know they're going to the next station the next year. How many lodges do you see or do you visit where folks are not, they don't even know the office they're in, let alone be able to perform anything in the office they're going to? And as masters of a lodge, it's not just a title. You are running the lodge, right? You chair the meetings. You're the chairman of the meetings, and you run the lodge. And it's difficult to be a leader in a volunteer organization, right? You can't just bark out orders,
right?
And you really shouldn't do that in a professional life, but people do. And everybody knows they have a boss, but the master of the lodge is a leader, right? And he's leading that lodge and running that meeting. That goes into the next point: merit-based leadership, right? You don't want to throw folks in the East just because they spent enough time in the lodge and they sat through the chairs. I mean, you want some leaders up there.
Yeah.
Dress and presentation, right? You want to, if Masonry is important to you and it's meaningful in your life and you're adhering to all the things that were spoken to you during your degrees, right? If you sit down and you, as a district lecturer, right, I was forced to, I kind of sounds bad saying it that way, but you have to spend time in the monitor, learn the lectures and learn the charges and learn the working tools. And they sink in a little bit differently when you got to take the time to memorize it all. And there's really some phenomenal things that are taught to you in your degrees that most of us are not living by, right? But presenting the word, presenting the ritual, and living out life as a Mason should be important to all Masons. And you should reflect that with everything that you do with Masonry. So we only meet once a month, and we want that to be the best meeting. So we want to be dressed the best for it, right? Quality assemblies, that's really talking about the festive board. The festive board is important. It's key. Because while we don't, and we do laugh, and there might be a joke that comes out during lodge, usually the inside baseball type stuff. The festive board afterwards is the time to really have fun. You've had a serious meeting, you've had some education, you've been reverent about the meeting. That's important, but the fellowship of it is also very important. So the meal afterwards is, and that's, I don't want to say that's what sold me on it, but that's part of what where my eyes were really opened at Renaissance was we had the meeting. I was like, okay, this is great. We're in tuxedos. This is masonry. This is awesome. Everybody knows their work. They know their verbiage. And it was serious. I heard you said serious. Um, everything around the meeting was important. And then we went to the Festa board and had an absolute blast. And that's quality for men, right? To just be amongst men, and have just the freedom to just be close, cut up, laugh, maybe tell some off-color jokes, toast some things that are real meaningful. We have several toasts, and just that whole quality of spending time together is also equally as important as all that other stuff, right? All of these are equally important. So the appearance and the dress and the ritual and being proficient in a lot of stuff, when it comes to Blue Lodge, right, that stuff means something. But do not discount the quality of the Festa board. It's equally as important. Restoring awe to ceremonies. We haven't conferred any degrees, and that's really what a ceremony is, right? Is putting on a degree. Went up to Renaissance for a Master Mason degree, and that should be the most special thing that a Mason receives. You shouldn't have folks fumbling around, folks shouting out corrections and stuff like that. So an awe to the degree, right? Everybody probably can remember or recall a really great degree that they saw. Wherever they saw it, it probably sticks out in their mind.
All right.
And that's what every degree ought to be for every Mason. You hear so many times, you have good of the order after a degree, and somebody will stand up, "Oh, brother, you got a good degree." That ought to be every degree. Everybody ought to get the best degree.
That's right.
I agree.
And then the last thing here is education. Every meeting. So it's not just about conducting the business of the lodge. What are the announcements that are coming? Sickness and distress, paying the bills. You ought to spend some time. Not everybody's getting in this monitor and memorizing all the work, but take some time to talk about it. All the little things that are stuck in there really come out. When you teach it,
Right?
Because you're not memorizing that stuff when you're being told it. Right, your head is spinning. You're drinking from a fire hose. You don't know what's next. Where's all this coming from? Let alone if they can even, if you got someone conferring the degree that's able to speak it fluently. Right. One of the things that's important to me when I confer a degree is that I speak the verbiage in a manner that sounds like I'm talking to them versus reciting some lines. Right.
I've noticed a lot of people that do that. Just recite.
Yeah, and that's just the nature of some folks, right?
Yeah.
But to me, the degree is very important, and I want that person to think I'm talking to them.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the 7 core principles of Observant Masonry. It's not exclusive. Anybody can be a part of it. It's not invitational only. I've heard that one a lot. It's invitation only. It's not.
I still hear that a lot of time about masonry in general. I thought you had to be invited. No, to be one, ask one.
Yep. Now our dues probably. Sorry, I don't want to cover that up. Our dues probably make it sound exclusive because the dues are pretty high. But in reality, I think every lodge in the state ought to have higher dues because,
That's right.
Per capita, I'm sure we're gonna talk about it this year again at Grand Lodge, our per capita
every year.
But the finances of lodges would be a lot better if they had dues commensurate with their actual bills.
Right.
And not many do that.
That's been a big subject in our lodge a lot because we've got people that are on a fixed income that say, well, if we go up, I can't pay it. Well, it's one payment a year. That's I mean, we're right now we're still at like $30. So that's
probably the lowest I've heard.
We're very blessed with that. I'll give it that. But if you truly love the lodge, to me, it's kind of one of those. You ask me to pay something. If I can do it, I'm going to pay it.
Right.
If not,
$2.60 a month.
Yeah.
And that's
I
that's
mean,
so when you start looking at dues,
mhm,
and this is one thing that really gets me is because I've worked out in weight rooms. I've been in karate. I was in karate for 14 years. I've done all these things, and you know I know what it costs per month
mhm,
to be involved with those things. And then we look at masonry. We say, well, we're $120 a year. Well, then you break that down into months, and that's $10 a month.
mhm,
And you start looking at the facility you have, and the power, and the water, and all this stuff, and it's just like, how do we continue to operate? At some
mhm.
point, we're going to have to keep merging and merging and
Hmm.
merging until we become one big observant lodge.
Yeah,
If we're not careful,
yeah, and that's
we have to go up on the dues.
like I said,
Oh yeah.
we've voted it. We're going up, and it's still only like $50 plus
Yeah.
Grand Lodge dues, and you know, for I get it's a volunteer organization. I mean, but at the same time, if you can't pay it, and somebody's not going to pay it for you, which I would think in our lodge, most anybody if doesn't want to lose somebody, we'll pay that for you.
Hmm.
But it's if you're going to show up and you're going to work and everything, why not just pay it? I mean, it's like I said, we're not even at $100 a year right now,
Yeah.
and that's just
You're
mind blowing
fortunate
to
that you have a
me.
renter,
Yeah.
but a lodge that doesn't have a renter, or some manner of
Mhm.
income. There's
Right.
different ways. I think Bush Lodge has got a cell tower on their property, so they get income from the cell tower.
Right.
If you're a lodge that doesn't have some manner of income, and your
You're
dues
relying
don't cover your
on.
annual budget,
Mhm.
and there are lodges that are in that situation, they might
Right.
have a stash of money from something. Um, but I think at a minimum, and this is just me personally speaking, this is totally opinionated, but um, a lodge's dues ought to cover their annual budget.
Mhm.
Right?
Exactly.
That's
Yes.
exactly.
Yeah.
That's when I
That's
went into
good.
the East, I said I would like us to be self-sufficient on our dues if we need to. I
Yeah.
mean, we're blessed to have those people downstairs, and like I said, we're not hurting at all. But if they were to go or something was to happen, and the floor fall in down there, and we couldn't have renters, we need
Hmm.
to be able to be self-sufficient. And we're not near that
We would
right
have to
now.
generate some money real
But
fast.
Yeah.
and with y'all being the new lodge too, I mean, I'm sure there's some that's it may eventually go down a little bit, but I'm sure they're trying to put some back for future, just if need be.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
now does that include your festive boards and stuff like that, or do y'all
No,
still
we pay for the
you still
festive board.
pay out?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
Yeah.
it.
well, I mean that's still, I mean, because what is it, 300 something still right now,
It's
360
basically $1 a day.
$1 a day, 365.
$365 for the year plus the Grand Lodge per capita. So
Okay,
that it's not embedded into your dues.
see,
It's on top of
even
that.
that's
Festive
not.
boards included, you're talking about $1,000 a year.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
if
mean, it's
you're
right at a
yeah,
grand
yeah,
a
if you
year.
want to be a part of Observant Masonry, you're invested in it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, and that kind of, if you pay that, you're probably going to go. To me,
And you
Yeah.
break that down, it's what, 80 something dollars a month. That's not a lot of money.
no,
Yeah, there's plenty of
it's
subscriptions out there that are way more than
Yeah,
that. I
that's
don't
what
know
I'm
that
saying. That's
anybody's
not
got.
a lot, man, when
Yeah.
you consider the experience you're getting. I mean,
yeah,
and the brotherhood and all the assets, the education, everything that's available.
right,
That's just not a lot of money.
yeah,
That's right.
and like I said, I mean, like you said, I mean, you get the experience of it. It's not exclusive. I mean, it is to an extent, but not exclusive in the fact that you're turning people away.
Yeah, well, it's
I mean,
the exclusive stuff or the invitational only stuff is in those appendant bodies,
hmm,
right? And it's extra degrees and things like
right,
that. This is Blue Lodge Masonry.
yeah,
Hmm.
Anybody can petition. You don't have to be invited. Um, I don't know where that came from. I honestly don't. But the exclusive part of it, sort of understood. That was, when you go through chartering a new lodge, there's some steps you got to go to, and
hmm,
um, you got to go visit the nearest lodge to get their kind of blessing or approval, so to speak. Um, but one of the first guys that stood up to talk against it, right? He said it was exclusive. It's like, where in the world did that come from? But I think it probably comes from the higher dues and all the rumors, that are out there from, maybe spread after Renaissance started, right? it's not easy, right? You don't just fire up the lodge, and we had maybe 30 members when we started. Within a couple months, lost 4 right out of the gate. Lost a couple since then. We've gained a couple more.
And it seems like, how long did it take to actually get? It took about a year to get
Yeah, so you
constituted, didn't it?
Yeah. I forget the exact term. Instituted. You get basically dispensation, and there's a ceremony for that first piece. I think it's institution. That you can probably do that fairly quickly in a matter of a couple of months.
I got you.
If you already had some brothers together that wanted to, start a new lodge, whether it was observant or not, there's a couple things that you got to do. Formally request dispensation. You get dispensation, and then you operate as a lodge, record minutes, all that stuff, and then at the next subsequent Grand Lodge meeting, you take your minutes and all that stuff like that to the Grand Lodge, and then at that point you get your charter, and then you have the Constitution after that.
Okay, that's cool.
So it takes. It could be about a year, depending on when you start working towards it. I guess
we started early in the calendar year. I think we held our first meeting in February. So Tony was first master. He held the office a little over a year and a half, I think. By the next, annual communication. Somewhere in the range of a year and a half. So I think for us, it was from February to November, we were under dispensation.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Well, you got anything else?
I'm not going to ask anymore. We'll go on all night.
Is there anything else you'd like to say before
I'm sure I can continue to talk more about it.
Yeah, we're always down to talk about masonry.
Yeah.
We love it. Like I said, we just get on here and start rambling. So we're just trying to promote the craft and see different aspects and Observant's one of them. We'll probably call in somebody from the York Rite and interview them, somebody from Scottish Rite, different appendant bodies and stuff. And
we've already talked to Brother Mike Taylor about getting in and to talk about the Scottish Rite.
I would like to get, I won't say it on here yet, but we've talked about another one that that I would like to get in before November. For Grand Lodge session, but
got to get on this calendar.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of things going on
because that thing's full. I'm sure.
Yeah.
If anybody has any questions or anything, do you have any kind of like social media you'd like to throw out? If anybody has questions about our website,
we have Instagram, we have Facebook page. I think Instagram is just Revival 935. You should be able to find it on Facebook the same way, just Revival 935.
Just Google it.
As well as like a handle, right? At Revival 935. Might be Revival.935. I can't recall. I did set those up originally. We also have a website. It's revival935.org, just like Grand Lodge requires for all domain names for Alabama. So revival935.org, Instagram, and Facebook.
And then one other thing, I know if somebody wants to attend as a guest, y'all have kind of it's not really a set in stone, but a procedure. Can you go through that just to let folks know in case they do want to visit?
Yeah, we do.
It's kind of a RSVP type.
Yeah, if you're going to attend the festival, we like to know ahead of time that someone's coming, just because we have a caterer come in and we have a certain amount of meals. We usually have a few extra. So if somebody shows up unannounced, it's fine. If they want to attend the festival, generally, if they're invited by a member of the lodge, we usually try to cover their first festive board for them. It's not always the case, but some of us try to do that. But we do like just a little heads up, but it's mainly for the festive board.
Right.
If someone shows up in a dark suit, we're not going to turn folks away if they're not in a suit, but we do ask that folks at least wear a dark suit. But come visit, attend lodge, and if you want to attend the festive board, that's where we really have good fun. And yeah, we welcome anybody.
And if you don't show up in a dark suit, you'll be the odd man out.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're in like a seersucker or something like that, we're all in our black tuxedos.
This guy's standing out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. We don't mind it at all.
You better know your stuff good if you do that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, we'd like to see it spread. So, I had this really wild and crazy idea, and it didn't work out. But I was going to try and force folks to come. We got the Grand Master's traveling gavel at Grand Lodge. And so we had several visitors our first meeting after Grand Lodge, including Most Worshipful's father. But they didn't bring enough folks. So the lodge the Grand Lodge gavel, or Grand Master's traveling gavel, went to Bluff Park for the first one. But I had this idea that wherever it was, we would go get it and make people come to Revival just to visit, just to see it, and just experience it with us. Because I know it's going to be good. You're going to enjoy it, and everybody that's come visited has enjoyed it.
Oh yes.
And so just come visit and talk about it amongst your home lodge. We've only had it twice. I haven't gone and pursued it as aggressively as I wanted to. But that was kind of my game plan, was to bring the Grand Master's traveling gavel to lodge every meeting and get folks to come and get it.
That's not a bad idea.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I thought it was a great idea, but
In theory.
the busyness of the calendar filled up really quickly, and we very rapidly forgot where the gavel was.
Yeah, I can imagine, because I know I know several of the Grand Line officers are members there, if not all are.
A good portion of the appointed.
Right.
Yeah, a good portion of the.
And that just goes to show that
5 or 6. Yeah, 5 or 6 on the appointed line are members of Revival.
That just goes to show how well that y'all's lodge knows your stuff.
So before we stop, give us a quick rundown of your officers. We know you're in the
Yep,
in the East.
I'm master of the lodge. My second term. Everybody's essentially in their second term. Sam Basu, his home lodge is Bluff Park. He's senior warden. Brother Lee Gibson, he's our junior warden. Let's see, senior deacon is Corey Stewart. Junior deacon is Jay Dwyer. 2 stewards are Alec Touchton and Todd DeStefano. They're both members of my lodge at Chelsea. Secretary is Brother Tim Vaughn, and treasurer this year, starting his first term as treasurer, is Brother Tony Horton, past master.
Nice.
That's a good bunch of men right there.
Good crew.
Sounds like a good crew right there.
Yeah.
Run a lodge good.
Well, we'll end it there, I guess, but we do appreciate your time. I know you
glad I
got
could
a
be here.
crazy
Yeah,
schedule.
Yeah, it was
with
tough
everything
scheduling,
going on.
but
Yeah.
I'm finally glad we got it
made it
done.
work.
Yeah.
And we're sorry that we've taken so long to do this. I know the last one, it took me a little while to separate the audio from it. So it was on YouTube long before it was on the audio podcast app. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, again, it's great having you, and hopefully we can get you back again one
Right,
day.
yeah.
Oh, I'd love to come
we'll
back.
figure
Absolutely.
some other stuff to talk about other than just Observant
We'll be
Masonry.
district lecture stuff next
Yeah,
time.
there
I
we
think.
go.
Yeah, we can talk. I'll talk about the ritual and all the nuances of holding a conference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
the fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we appreciate y'all listening, watching, whatever you're doing. If it is on YouTube, if you can, like, subscribe. It might help us out a little bit.
Drop us a line.
Yeah, something. If there's anything you'd like to learn about, feel free to hit us up. And if you get some free time is it the third Wednesday?
Third Wednesday.
Third
tomorrow.
Wednesday. Visit Revival Lodge. They meet at the Metro
York Right building.
Metro York Right building. I was thinking Metro East. That's the lodge, one of the lodges that meets there, but right there in Irondale. So, but again, thank you. And,
Absolutely.
We'll see you guys hopefully next time.
Next time.
Hopefully it'll be a little
Until
sooner
then.
than this time.
Thanks, Eric.
Awesome. I'll thank you guys so much.